wouldn't. I mean, it's fine. I'm popping the collar.
You look good.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So they don't know I'm wearing the same thing as last time.
Oh, well, I mean, we could also change seats if you wanted to.
Do you want to switch shirts? No, okay, this will be fine. It'll be fine. God, that button sucks.
You gotta press it. You gotta give it a little
No,
more
I know
love.
how it works, but it's stupid.
It's a button, Bryce.
Yeah, it's a button. I want to be able to do this, and it says stuff. But instead, I get literally nothing.
But quiet the room, because we are fixing to film a. Welcome to the Effing Movie Podcast. I am your host, Price,
I enjoy
because this is my house
thoroughly.
That's so jarring.
and my table, so I'm the host.
You can tell it's
And
not smooth.
this month is our man Mason.
It's me.
Mason's pick.
It's me.
So tell us
We're
about what's going on, Mason.
Yeah, so these next 3 weeks, you guys are picking movies to try to win my heart. As little as it might be after that Brothers review. Go back and watch it.
Brothers is actually what led us to making sure Mason was the next pick, because we just terrorized him for this last month, so we had to give him.
I was actually gonna leave the state,
Yeah.
but they said, "Hey, it's your month." So I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, fuck, I guess I'll stick around."
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So the first pick is Dylan's, and he has picked Good Will Hunting
Mm-hmm.
for me to watch.
So-
And for the record, round of applause for you gentlemen. We picked this movie 2 days ago, and somehow not only did we all basically watch it,
yeah.
but we also scheduled a movie podcast filming within 48 hours.
That's a record.
That's crazy.
No, because we also have watched Mad Max Fury Road and then immediately.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
That was
but
a
we
lot.
picked Mad Max
Yeah.
like 6 days prior. This one, I'm telling you, Sunday
to watch.
picked. I watched it 15 minutes later, and here we are.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm pretty happy about that. I mean,
Yeah,
Dylan did
I would-
confirm the time 15 minutes before we were supposed to meet and
Well,
go. But hey,
Yeah.
we're all here. We're ready to
beggars can't
go.
be choosers.
Yeah.
We're going to do summary or reason for Mason.
I can do summary and then go into reason as well.
Sure.
Just cover-
Kick it. You didn't get to do the intro, so we'll give you 2 things.
Yeah, sure.
So-
So
We haven't
talked about which movie it is yet.
I know.
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting.
Hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Good Will Hunting. You got Matt Damon, who is this brilliant Boston construction guy. He works as a janitor at one of the most prestigious tech schools in Boston, which is
MIT.
MIT. There we go. Totally eluded me for a minute there. Anyway, works as a janitor, and one day he's just working this job. He's kind of got a couple shitty jobs. He's a very brilliant dude who just works terrible jobs. And they do this math equation up here that's like this impossible math equation, and everybody kind of takes their time trying to solve it, fails. Everybody's gone, he's mopping up, and he kind of just looks at it, and he just solves the problem. From there, the movie kind of just goes on to saying, they're like, oh, like all the professors and people are like, oh my god, we need to take this genius and do something with him. And he's got kind of a damaged background, so at this point it's just a bunch of professors, and soon to be Robin Williams enters in to be this professor therapist who is trying to help kind of just guide Matt Damon into like a genius position. But as the movie kind of goes on, he's just more interested in just making him being a better person. So that's kind of the gist of it. As it goes on from there, there's events and all that stuff, but that's the short of it. Matt Damon's a genius on that. Why I picked this movie for Mason. Mason in the past has previously expressed that he's not super hot on Robin Williams. And you would think, well, that's a really weird reason to pick this movie for you.
Yeah.
But I think for Mason, this is... If I had to pick a movie that really shows like a great different side to Robin Williams, that's not comedy, not anything else, and gives you a really good, genuine performance, I would say this is kind of where it goes. I think the movie's solid across the board. This has a lot of things that I like, which is why I shouldn't pick it. But I think it's a good movie regardless of my preferences of this thing. And I think it's interesting enough that it has enough good drama bits that Mason would like, as well as a performance that I think would actually surprise him. If he goes in thinking Robin Williams is down here, then he might be overperforming as far as this goes, and then I actually might overwin him on that one. So that's kind of my thinking for picking this movie for him.
Okay, let me cut that without all the flowering on it. He picked this movie because you don't like Robin Williams. You should like Robin Williams. This is why you're going to like Robin Williams.
I get that. I do. And I have voiced my
I wouldn't word it that
concern
way.
for Robin Williams. There's this ongoing poll that I have with people. If you had to pick Tom Hanks or Robin Williams, I'm more of a Tom Hanks kind of guy. I don't know why they're categorized in my head in the same, way.
I don't
see
That's
that.
a really weird...
Well, I think they're
No.
both very seasoned. They've got a lot under their belt. I
don't think that's an unfair comparison.
I think it's pretty darn
Old white
down
in a
the
lot of
line.
movies.
mean, that's about the only comparison.
But yes, as Dylan said, Robin Williams is way over the top for me most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just his nature, it's not for everybody. I'm one of those people. So, do we want to get into the
I'm ready.
movie?
The first, when you brought up Good Will Hunting, you all may remember the scene from Step Brothers. Like, the first thing you said with Good Will Hunting is that scene where they're in the therapy room.
Yeah.
I know if y'all remember it, where he's like, so tell me a little bit about yourself, Dad. He's like, I just feel like I'm smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see math equation and I just fix. He's like, this sounds a lot like the plot of Good Will Hunting. He's like, no, but my best friend's Ben Affleck, and then it goes to the next one.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
but this movie has been memed to death. Like, this is a classic, especially, and this will lead into I'll go ahead and start with negatives. I did like this movie. I'm giving it above a 5. I'm going to go ahead and get that out beforehand.
Well, disclosure there. Good deal.
Because, man, the, what is it? Like, it's not your fault scene. Okay.
Yeah, that
Come
I've
on.
seen that a lot.
And
yeah.
and this will also transition into Dylan go ahead and doing his therapy thing. But, man, it's been memed to death. Like, it's been in Family Guy. Like, I know that they've done it in there. They've done it on a bunch of different things. And it just felt way too sudden for me. I know I'm leaping way to the end already.
Which
that's
it's not your
pretty deep
fault
into the
part.
movie.
Exactly.
So it's the part where he has his folder and he's describing to Matt Damon. He's like, "Oh, this and this."
Okay.
It's, not
It's
your
basically
fault.
when Matt Damon like has his breakthrough and is
Right.
like,
Yeah.
like I finally like realized that like I really want this girl.
Mhm.
I want to chase out here. I'm gonna get away from here. Like I can be somebody else. That kind of thing. And that
It's his growth moment.
yeah,
So,
which
Yeah.
it's not like gradual. It's just right
Yeah.
there
Mhm.
with Robin Williams shaking him, saying it's not your fault over and over and over.
That's all your fault, boy.
So
Didn't he
go,
have his
man.
hands around his neck?
So-
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, never mind.
No,
I
not
just
that
feel
part.
like I want to interject as far as something early on in this movie.
Fine by
I
me.
do think it is interesting that this is such a popular movie because it's like one that everybody's seen, and I just happen to have not seen it.
Yeah,
And
same.
Yeah.
which is surprising for you. For me, that's about
Shocker.
normal.
Yeah.
After watching this movie, I'm not really sure why this was the one that everybody was so like
Crazy.
everybody's
Yeah.
watched, because it's not like for me from the very outset. I was like, I feel like I even was checking to see like what's the runtime for this movie supposed to be, because I thought that there was like 10 or 15 minutes at the beginning of this movie that wasn't there or something, because it drops immediately into like, okay, here's this class, here's
Yeah.
the formula, here's Good Will Hunting, like here's Will solving the problem,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like just like boom, boom, boom. All right, now we're in it,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't know. I thought there should have been more of a lead up, and I was kind of confused by that.
Yeah. I think that this movie, I completely understand what you mean, because like let's say what year was this? Maybe 96, 90 something, 94.
I
It
think.
seemed older.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This movie with that kind of cast, it had Stellan Skarsgård, which was one of my favorite characters until he wasn't.
Mhm.
It had the cast of a lifetime. It even had Ben Affleck's little brother,
Casey
Max
Affleck in
or
it,
whatever
yeah.
it was.
Dude, Stellan Skarsgård, whatever his name is, looking handsome in this
He
movie.
was.
Yeah.
All the
It's
Skarsgård
Big,
too.
big
Yeah.
surprise because I've only seen him like fairly recently, and he is not looking the
You
best
mean
anymore.
22 years
22 years
Yeah.
later, he
Yeah.
got that. God, how dare he age in 22
Yeah.
years?
Ah, you know
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, this for that time period, I kind of just say that a lot of different things can happen.
Mhm.
I try to give it the benefit of the doubt. I do have some qualms with this movie too. You want me to? Yeah. All right. So the ending of this movie almost really turned the score for me. The ending of this movie I thought was incredibly silly, not detrimental, but it was on the rocks, because all of these professors and all of these people, they say that they had his well-being in their best interests
Mhm.
and was trying to steer him on the right course. At the end of the day, they just needed a mind in their army. They just wanted to see him pursue something that was going to
Push our field forward by doing
Exactly,
this. This benefits me, so you
Yes.
gotta come here for that, right?
So and Robin Williams was just more or less this. Hey, I had a wife. You mentioned a billion times in this movie. I did have a wife. I did have a wife. You should look. You should find that one that you want to wake up next to and hear fart. Yes, but The ending of this movie I thought was a little bit wild because he did just drop everything, even that new job that he had, and just went straight to California after this girl who was my least favorite character.
Really?
I could not stick.
I thought she was so endearing.
That was a default British actress, which could have been anyone else. I'm not saying that.
If it was Natalie Dormer, this movie would have been a 10 out of 10.
And the thing was, I liked her character overall, but her, I just could not.
But she's got that quirky kind of attitude
She
that
was
is like
very
in
quirky,
all of the
which
teenage
helped,
dramas.
which
Yeah.
helped.
Oh my.
I agree with Mason on this. I wasn't really sold on that character. Didn't really find her all
She just
that
seemed
endearing.
weird. Like,
She did just seem kind of weird.
yeah.
It seemed too much of a forced character, and maybe it's because it was of that time before that kind trope of a character
right.
had really been well established
Yeah.
and understood. So it just felt off. Also, that ending with him deciding to go after, you could see that coming from the outset of this movie.
You
Yeah.
could, but I think that was a total cop out. I mean,
Oh,
he
yeah,
could
it
have
was-
done 4 other things. They could have wrapped this movie in a few different ways. I think him just dropping it all and driving his $600 beat up piece of shit car
That car does
from
not make it all the way to
Boston
California.
to California. Ugh. Okay, that is my main qualm. Is just the ending. I
Mason's
can
gonna give this
get
movie
over
a
it.
6.
I can get
Place
over
your bets.
I can get over that though.
Still gonna win somehow.
It's okay though.
Yeah.
I did think talking about the girl, it was weird that they had that much of a cast and they didn't put someone in her spot.
I thought she was great.
So,
Someone.
to be fair though, a lot of this cast, while is super solid, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Robin Williams are obviously the 3 biggest roles on this one. I mean, Casey Affleck's still up and
Skarsgård was
coming.
big. He
Skarsgård
was in series.
Big, but yeah, they only gave him so much of a role. I think a couple of these other actors, before they've actually gotten their really movie shine. Ben
Yeah.
Affleck, Matt Damon are still very Miramax people at this point.
Yeah.
They're oh, you're the guys from Kevin Smith's movies.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head before the Good Will Hunting where they're oh man, they're Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. But kind of back to Nathan's point, because I think he makes a great point on saying we're not sure why this is the movie that latched on and became a pop culture icon movie, right? Because it's a movie about a Boston genius who goes to therapy. None of these things are highly relatable, especially in 1990, whenever this movie was out.
Yeah.
It does seem kind of strange that comes across. I think that's a great question to ask, to sit here and say, why do people latch on to this? And the only thing I can really latch on to is the one thing that people connect to is Robin Williams' connection with his dead wife. And okay, you can find a grieving story in here, but that's far and away the main point of this. I'm I can't relate with being a genius who can solve excellent math problems at any point. I'm not a genius that's also a janitor. I'm not underachieving. I'm properly achieving, I think.
But you could also say that it was a little bit of this character was seemingly just ordinary laborer janitor kind of person, but is also really smart and scores points against the intelligentsia.
I think it makes the 2 points on being that it wants the person, you want to be the main character, you want to be achieving more than you think, but also it is kind of a fuck you to the establishment kind of movie with that one. Maybe this is a Nathan pick, and I didn't know it in disguise. Because he's very much even with where he has the NSA interview and he talks about it in the therapy session.
I thought was so weird.
I liked that.
That
Whole little monologue.
I
Yeah.
thought it was fake.
That was
I
a
thought it was
lot.
a dream because all of a sudden, he was going from these
And then-
3 businessmen that he sent Ben Affleck to, do an interview with him for, and then they went into the top tier government security
NSA
agency who is willing to just giving him all of these things.
Right.
Listen, you're gonna have classified files. This is all the benefits, and he still didn't go for it. I just, oh gosh, I don't know. I don't like wasted talent. I think if you're really
Full of
good,
wasted talent though.
huh?
Some of the best musicians play in joke bands.
Yeah.
That's
I could
what
see that.
ends up happening a lot of the time.
See, I see it was more as a movie about fulfillment because the whole movie he doesn't know what he wants
to do. He's
Right.
never left
Like
Boston.
he's got all this baggage from his past, and then he finally meets these friends who would do literally anything for him that they could, and all these people are telling him you need to go do something else. You need to chase after this girl. You need to go get this job, and he's just I just want to be with my friends and like do stupid stuff because like they like love me and will do anything for me. And then finally, when he for some reason has that breakthrough with Robin Williams, which I'm bringing up again because I really think it's asinine. But once he has that breakthrough, he's like, oh, like there is a world outside of there. There's other people that can love me, and I can get a job over there because I'm super smart, and I could be with the girl that I love. And so that feels a bit contrived at the end, but everything before that I think is all about him figuring out like how to fulfill himself.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on the fence with this because the more I think about it, the more I keep thinking like this is a movie meant at a lot of niches. Like I mean, Matt Damon's a foster kid and he comes from an abusive background and everything like that.
This was the prequel to The Departed, by the way. If this isn't in the same universe, it loses all points for me. Except it was Leo's character.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, I'm like, wait, isn't that Leo? I gotta go.
Anyway, it is in Boston, though.
Right. God. Shut up. So, I like Matt Damon's development in a way, but I will agree that there are some times where it's very overacted. In the breakthrough scene, it's not your fault part. I think that Robin Williams' stuff is fine in that scene. It's maybe a little bit extra, but I think that Matt Damon's full on breakthrough, I'm like, even rewatching that part, I'm like, man, he really overacts this breakdown. Like, I have to remember this is '94 Damon.
It is, yeah. This is 90s movie.
It is a period. It is a movie of its period. So it is that thing where I'm like a little bit of grain of salt with this because I'm like, this is before it's highly troped. This is before it's this, and yeah, there is a little bit of that. Yeah. But I think that we aren't talking about one of the things that I have to get into. Go ahead, roll your eyes, Bryce. We're talking about the therapy session.
I brought it up 20 minutes ago.
So listen, all right, some of the therapy scenes on this is a little extra, I'll admit. At other times, I think it stays really well grounded, and a lot of the best parts in this movie are just Robin Williams and Matt Damon just talking to each other.
Oh yeah, my favorite scene in the movie, again, to hijack yours, is that scene with them in the
them at the park. Yeah,
that's easily my favorite, and that
when the camera was about this close to Robin Williams' face, and then the camera was about this close to
Matt Damon's.
I'll talk about the camera later. I love that.
The technicals of this movie have. Whatever, movies have gotten better at shooting and worse. Look at Thanksgiving.
It uses shaky cam in a car when they're just like talking to each other. Yeah. That's all I had to say. That was awful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of parts in this movie that are kind of hit or miss, but the genuine like conversations that are had here, I think are super solid and I think really on point. And I'm gonna put my trademark as a therapist thing on this. The parts where it's just calm and not trying to be a movie and just trying to be a discussion, dialogue, and talking about life and challenging that person. It's fucking good. Like, it's one of the better cinema versions of therapy I've seen, which is not a selling point for Mason at all.
It's not a high bar. Kind of like good video game movies.
Yeah, it's not a high bar. It's really not. But I think Robin Williams does a job to sit there and I think not only just try to be like that therapist archetype, like, because it's very easy to just make him a character based on his job and not just a character. He's a character first.
Oh, yeah.
Who just happens to fall into this. And sure, that sticks out to me more as being a therapist. But for me to sit there and take away and say, Robin Williams is being a dramatic actor who's being somebody who's very chill. He's not overacting, and Matt Damon is overacting a lot of times. So seeing that comparison, I'm like, man, keeping it grounded really keeps the scene's tempo perfect. Like, anytime it's those two talking in the therapy sessions, that's where the movie always shines for me. Like, the movie doesn't suck at other parts. I do want to say my other favorite scene is the typical scene, the one that's been memed to death. It's the one where they're in the bar. And I have to bring this point up because it's still like whatever. It's meme to death because it's good, and I do enjoy just sitting there.
It's so goofy.
It's goofy, but I love it
so
for it.
Goofy.
Thinking Ben Affleck going over trying to hit on these college girls, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, what were we on history?" And I'm like, "Bro, like I've seen that conversation.
It doesn't
so
work
many times.
Ever.
That conversation still happens to date. Like I've seen so many guys at like college bars doing these exact conversations. So I'm like, this is a timeless trope because it's true." And then never seeing the smart guy come over. I've never seen a genius. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm going to tell you about these books. But just seeing smug dudes get knocked down, like, I don't know. Maybe I just had like a rage boner to see somebody who just got
what they deserve.
Yeah, just get those just desserts. And I'm like, that seems just satisfying to me every time I watch it. And why don't you just come up with your own frame of mind? Well, yeah, you could read this, and next year you're going to be talking about this stuff or whatever. And I'm just like, I know this is a meme, but I love it. Like, it's just too fun. I don't know. Did anybody else enjoy that as much as me?
I enjoyed when all four of them were together. I think those were honestly some of my favorite parts
super fun.
Because Ben Affleck was one of my favorite characters in this movie. I think he played that part really well. I don't think he even had to really try. You know, I think he.
They're both just best friends, so this is them just talking and hanging out.
I think like Robin Williams, bar none, was the best part in this movie. I mean, he really did do well. The dialogues were really good. The monologues were even better. He was not over the top. It was good, and I was glad to see a change of pace because the one that I'm used to is, you know, like
The Aladdin, Robin Williams.
That and
Flubber, Jumanji. Over the top
Flubber.
comedy, Jim Carrey like Robin Williams. Yeah.
Don't even get me started on Jim Carrey. They're the exact same person, I'm convinced.
They're not, but Jim Carrey's making a comeback. Joe got Sonic the Hedgehog, but
Gross.
he
Ew.
loves it. It's animated.
What? I haven't
It's
seen
not.
it.
He's gonna love it.
But yeah, I, real quick to touch on the breakthrough parts when like they're all just kind of like Price. You said that Robin Williams and Matt Damon. My least favorite breakthrough, or when everyone was sort of shitting on Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. He at one point was like, "I drive to your house every morning."
Yeah.
And every morning I hope that you don't come out that door.
I like that. It's tough love. Like I get
That's
why-
Boston love right there.
Exactly. Like he can't be like, "Hey, let me pat you on the butt." Like
He
you're
has
super
been for
smart.
20 years.
That's Boston like friend love. That's like, hey, like
Yeah.
I don't want to see you at your house because you are way too good to be here.
I
Like
think
I would kill to be you.
that part
Go
was
away.
a little bit forced. Only because everyone else was coming on to him real harsh, and then all of a sudden, like his best friend and his girlfriend, you know, he gets into that fight with his girlfriend, then he looks to his best friend.
Okay, you're saying like it's all a coincidence. That,
Well,
like,
and I get it.
all this
you
kind
know,
of
happens.
when it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
Sure. But Ben Affleck's almost didn't make sense because, like, all of a sudden he was just a totally different person. It's tough love. I don't know.
So I don't know. I buy it for this reason in that Matt Damon set up like they have a relationship where he could even like he's gonna be able to tell him like that tough shit stuff.
Yeah.
But I
And
think
they can.
yeah, exactly. I mean, he does at other times. Like, and it's gonna space me on the examples on. He's never been as tough until this scene.
Yeah.
Admittedly, but I think this is that scene where he sees Matt Damon kind of on the fence, and for like, if Ben Affleck believes what he is saying, and he does, like, I think this is the moment where he sees Matt Damon kind of thinking about it, and you're like, are you kidding me? Like, you're actually thinking about stuff, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
like get the hell out.
yeah,
you
and
know?
you know, if you have that friend who's just a hammer, so to speak, you know, the ones who is just no subtlety in things, bro, like, this is the truth hammer that they drop on you. I think that translates super well, and I don't know, I bought it, but I guess it's a different perspective. I can see at the same time where it's all hammering back to back to back, and it does, like you said, rains and pours moment. But I think it's nice to have that levity, and for him to hear from somebody that he actually cares about. Like, he hears it from the girl, and he cares about her, but she's already on the side of change, which he doesn't want to go.
Yeah, which she's already one foot out
Right.
the door.
Everybody else has already had these motivations, and he hears it from the one person who's like, he's invested on saying, like, this is why I'm staying here. I'm staying here because of you and the guys. And he needs to hear it from Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
So I think Ben
Yeah.
Affleck knows that, and that's like the driving motivation for that scene, which is why I think it works really well.
Do you think it precedents for that ending scene where he goes to the door and lo and behold, he's not there and he doesn't
Literally,
come
I
out the
think-
door?
Yeah, I buy it for that reason. I don't do one back on in. So right. So I get your point with Skarsgård and like the talent in the film, we're trying to kind of guide him, but I do want to talk about the scene that we were kind of just talking about before camera issues. You'll never know.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Ben Affleck scene where he's sitting here talking with Matt Damon. Now, go ahead and give your thoughts on that because we need to kind of have a context here for this.
The Ben Affleck and Matt Damon part,
Yeah.
I think that while everyone was kind of coming down on him in a harsh way, Ben Affleck's almost didn't make sense just because, like, I get that he was his best friend and he could, you know, reside in him, but Ben Affleck sitting there saying, you know, every morning I come to your door and I hope that you don't come out. Like, I hope that you've moved on and you've done something with your life. I think that part was a little bit forced, and I didn't resonate at the very end. It all comes down to the ending for me. Like, this movie was very, very good until that ending, where it just felt like all of the threads just frayed out. And I don't know, that part especially. I'm okay with everyone else coming down on him, but Ben Affleck didn't make sense.
Sure. And I'm kind of on the other side of the fence of that. We're saying that I think it needs to be Ben Affleck's character that has this discussion. They set him up to be this kind of tough friend who's going to be laying it out how he feels about it.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever he gets to this scene, every other character has told Matt Damon he needs to change in some way. He needs to grow up. He needs to evolve. He needs to figure out what he wants to do. And the whole movie, like the whole rest of the cast, fails to get him to get budged. Robin Williams makes him budge a little. The girl makes him budge a little. But he needs to hear it for, like, the reasons that he's staying there. And I've said that, you know, Ben Affleck and that whole crew, that's to Matt Damon's character, his family. Like, that's Will's whole reason for being there. So Ben Affleck's character is pretty much the character who needs to tell him this stuff. He needs to tell him, no, you have so much potential. You'd be wasting it here. You'd be spitting in my face and everyone else's face that's here if you stayed here and you grew up here and we're doing that. Like, I love that scene because it's that moment where it's like, this is the absolute person who needs to hear it from. There are some times where you get a moment where it's like, okay, this scene can only be possible with this one character and this one character.
Yeah.
And I think for that reason it kind of buys it, and why it takes me into the end of the movie where it's that payoff for him, because he even said, I hope every day that I just walk up to that door and you're just not there. And yeah, and then one day he's just not there. He leaves a letter to Robin Williams and does that, like, it's,
Says nothing to his voice.
And so, again, this is a movie that's troped itself because it's a time period movie for us now in 2020.
Well, I mean, this movie was obvious what was going to happen every step of the way. Like,
exactly.
This movie is not a surprise in any way. It like telegraphs ahead of time there'll be the whole thing where he was talking about how, like, I hope I don't see you one day. It's like literally as that's happening, it's like, well, that's going to be a scene later.
Yeah. Well, that's how this movie wraps.
Right.
And it's like, oh, girl's going to California. Well, he's going to go after her at the end of the movie.
This girl that he's maybe been in a relationship with for like
a week.
4 weeks. Yeah.
Whatever, let him have it.
Yeah.
Okay, but to that point though, I think that it shows its hand early on, but this isn't a movie that's building to a twist. This isn't a movie that's like M. Night Shyamalan, like, oh man, I can't wait to see how this ends. Like, the ending is not so much as important. It is just meant to just say, hey, you knew where the destination was. It's more about the journey on the way there. Like, it's more about that part. So
yeah, but I don't want to, like, know what's going to happen. I'm not expecting to, like, oh, everybody's going to blow up at the end or something like that. Like, I just at least want to be like, I wonder if, like, Matt Damon's going to, like, change and, like, go see his girl and that kind of stuff. I don't want it to, like, know, like, all right, this is going to be a scene later. That's going to be a scene later. I know that this is going to happen.
As far as the therapist part, would you like to speak on the...
Boy, do I! Let's get that back in this video. I want to talk on the therapy scenes on that one as a therapist. Cue laugh track.
Very good.
There we go. So, the therapy parts on this scene, other than... So I'll say from Robin Williams' perspective, from the therapy aspects on it, I think the parts where he's just sitting there talking casually, hanging out with them, slightly pushing them, or slightly discussing things, all those things are actually, like, brilliant therapy cinema, or cinema therapy. And again, the bar is not high. We discussed that briefly earlier, where it's like, you're watching therapy in a movie and it's usually the therapist is bad. They even have that in this movie where they're listing the most stereotypical therapy. Him on the couch, how does it make you feel?
Doing the halluc...
Right. I love that they...
trance.
Exactly. I kind of love that they give those nods knowing that they're going to give you actual good therapy. If they just gave you that and then left it to be Step Brothers or something like that, I'd be like, oh god, here we go. But this one actually does an attempt and it makes it genuine. And that, I felt that in a really positive way. Like, there are times where Robin Williams is sitting there and it looks like they're just hanging out. And I'm like, no, that's what it really looks like sometimes. And I was like, I buy this. I buy this because you have a kid who's, with Matt Damon, you couldn't sit there and you couldn't try to be the smartest person in the room. Like, let's be real. Matt Damon is the smartest person in the room, and if you try to challenge that, he's just going to be a dick about it. Yeah. So Robin Williams very much just steps back and says, all right, fine, I'm just going to talk to you like a person. I think my favorite therapy scene is the one where he's talking about the Boston game, and where he goes to meet his wife, and he's just like, yeah. And he's like,
revved up.
I know, he's sitting there, and you can tell, like, he's like, I know you buy this, you're a Boston dude, and I'm a Boston dude. Yeah. So that's called building rapport in the therapy term with that. But it's essentially something to say, all right, fine, you're going to keep seeing me as this professional therapist. I need to meet you as just a person. And then it's just them being two Boston baseball fans, and he's just revving up, and they're like, yeah, whenever all the fans rush on this stuff, and he's like, you were there, you had tickets? And he's like, nah, I went to go see a girl. And he's like, are you fucking kidding? Like, you can tell that Matt Damon is one of his friends in that scene, or one of Robin Williams' friends in that scene, where he's just like, no, I would have never let you do that. And he's like, I had to go talk to a girl.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is what it was. They saw how fierce I was on that, and I love that scene because it takes away all the expectations and just gives you two human performances.
Yeah.
I just love how it's executed. Whenever the movie does it right, it does right. Now, never choke your clients, never... okay, a couple boundaries are pushed a little further than probably what's comfortable. There's some not great therapy at times in here, too. But at the end of the day, it got to Matt Damon where it needed to. Do not use that as a preference to say, I can choke my clients if I can help my clients later. That's not what I'm saying. That is the movie part of it. But the parts where it's just doing talks and conversations, this movie shines.
We'll talk about talks and conversations, because that's gonna lead into me saying this movie is long. Like, it does not need to be this long.
Yes.
It's fat. I mean, it's nowhere near.
So
like
we're now
something
in
like
fat, thick, or
Excalibur.
perfectly fit. And
Well, I want to make it more of a discussion, because usually we just say what we think. 'Cause
Well, I mean,
I want to
that's
hear what like you all think on it too, because like I think it's so long that like scenes could be shorter, scenes could be cut. Like, it's pretty fat.
I think I'm going to have to defend it a little bit here. I did not think it was long. I do think that, I don't know, for it to be, you know, this movie who, like Nathan said earlier, it is this profound movie that so many people have seen, so many people have been used to and seen, you know, for ages. This movie actually did hold my attention very well. I was, like I said earlier, you know, the girl, every time she was on the camera, I could probably do without that. But honestly, I think, you know, you have to have some kind of love interest. Just the fact that it was her wasn't that bad. I think that this movie was actually right on par because Robin Williams sold it for me, and Matt Damon was not a bad character. Ben Affleck was a good... Everyone had their designated parts, and I think that they landed them all really, really well. Nothing drew out for too terribly long, I don't think, but I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
guys think?
I felt the movie at times could drag a little bit, and I'm kind of with you guys on this one. With the girl being the main source of change and delivering force with that, she's not the most engaging character in this movie. Like, she's probably not even the second most engaging character in this movie. She's fun. I have a good time with her. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't see enough human interaction between them. The chemistry didn't really sell me on it. It's enough for her to make the plot point at the end to be Matt Damon leaving.
Where was Cameron Diaz?
Right? I know.
Was
she
she
should have.
busy?
She was doing the mask at this time or something.
Was she doing being John Malkovich?
God, probably.
I'd be fine with that.
No, I don't
I'd
know.
be
But
very happy with that.
yeah, I think when you look at this movie, her scenes, because she's the least engaging character, but strangely the most important plot device in
It
this
really
movie.
was.
It's this double-edged sword where it kind of is like a 50-50 thing where I'm like, I want less of her, but she's... If you take her out of this movie, you really have to rewrite why Matt Damon is growing as a character. And they're not going to do this in the 90s. Mid-90s, you're going to have this romance character be the plot.
What did you all think about the scene of them in the store with the silly glasses and stuff?
You thought it was
That-
too quirky?
It was too quirky. It was too forced feeling. It
Okay.
seemed stupid to me.
I love the witty banter of any relationship that I see on camera. I think people can nail that pretty easily,
yeah.
and I think that they have it. But that part was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I don't know
I thought
why.
There's
that'd be
parts
up your
where
teenage
they were
drama.
good at it.
Oh,
but
so
that,
good.
that
That
whole
joke?
scene was
Yeah.
just garbage.
Yeah.
That joke where like they were hanging out with the boys and she was there, like that part was really funny. Like the part when they were eating that hot dog and stuff, like that was kind of cute, kind of quirky. Yeah,
But this one, quirk to 11 unnecessarily,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're
This
like-
one was a little
yeah.
weird.
This from
Again-
Quirk to Quinge, our new show.
Cringe, yeah. Quirk.
Again, I feel like this
That's a hard one.
was pre the quirky girl thing being figured out in cinema.
This is
was.
before 300
It
Days of
was.
Summer, whenever they start really trademarking
500 Days of Summer.
it. Yeah, okay.
That's a lot of summer.
Yeah. It's too much summer.
Her name was
Speaking of,
Summer.
God,
a
we
lot
get
of
it.
summer.
It's a good movie. Good
I-
So good.
I think I would probably say this movie
was thinking
felt
300
a little bit
Spartans.
big too. But also at the same time, I'm still like, I was hung up for quite a while with this movie, just feeling like the pacing was weird and that it immediately dropped you into the story.
Nathan's like, I needed a setup.
Like,
you can't
I-
just draw me in.
Like, whenever I sit down for a movie, I'm willing to go long with any movie. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not.
But you've got to
bothered
put
by
the
length.
foreplay in, movie. You can't just leap onto these
Buy
man's
me
bones.
dinner first,
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
Rub
it's-
my hair,
it's
kiss
just-
me a little.
like,
Damn. We
with-
want cuddles too.
with these kind of movies that are classics, you could say,
Yeah.
you know a lot about them before you've even watched them.
Yeah.
And I knew enough about this movie to know kind of what was going to happen and kind of where it was going to go. But I thought it would take at least a little bit before getting there. I thought, like, the formula being put up on the chalkboard, like, I thought that would be put up, and then there would at least be, like, some degree of time before Matt Damon walks up and solves it.
He sniffed it out.
Listen, Matt Damon's got an equation to do. He's got an equation to do, all right?
All right, so are we all good with
Yeah.
fat, thick?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's...
Fat. fine.
Yeah, fine, maybe a little chubby at times, but
All right.
okay. Scores.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
You didn't like that pop.
I did.
That's the joints, baby.
So I mean,
Arthritis.
this movie wasn't
It's
bad.
a
It
joke.
kept my attention and had good acting in it. At the end of the day, I wasn't that interested in it. It's not a movie I cared that much about. So I'm gonna land at like a 5.5 on it.
All right. Well, I did enjoy the movie. I mean, I can't say like a ton because I did think it was fat. It went on too long. Conversations could be cut, could be shortened. But I mean, I did enjoy like some of the concepts that they were throwing in here. Like again, like I said earlier, the idea of fulfillment. I enjoyed that. But I will never rewatch this movie. I won't have a reason to. Even when I rewatched it this time, I was like, oh, well, all right. I guess I have to rewatch it since he picked it. But
Watch a review on Paprika.
Yeah. Get paprika, the best of spices.
But anyway, I'm going with the 6. That's my score, and I'm sticking to it.
Moving up the score train, choo choo. Maximum peak score right here.
Here we go.
Look at this movie an 8. I think this is a solid movie for its time. Robin Williams, this is, besides Genie, this is probably my next favorite performance from him. I think he's super engaging. I think Matt Damon is fun. You get your just desserts. Is it plenty of tropes? Sure, but I think it's one of those movies that's good enough to earn the tropes that come from it. And I think that takes a lot from it. It can hurt repeat reviews because you're like, here's this joke. I've seen this media to death. And sure, that is the cons of picking an older movie.
It's like when I picked Step Brothers.
Yeah.
When
sure.
remember when everybody's like, oh, I know that joke. I know that joke's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
That
But
thing.
thankfully, this isn't a comedy, so that it doesn't live on jokes. This lives on the engaging performances, and I think it excels so good into that part. Those ones keep me locked in on it. So
Your foot.
yeah, quit tapping.
Shaking the whole house.
Shaking the whole house there. So I'm gonna give this an 8. I really enjoy it. Good film therapy, minus the choking. Good film fetishes whenever it is doing
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, there's about a 10-second clip that you'd enjoy.
Hurt me, daddy. Give me that score. Come on.
So this movie, like I said at the very
This
beginning,
painting sucks.
this movie, while it was going on, it was actually a really high bar. The ending, it really teetered off for me. It was an 8.5. I am taking it down to a 7.5.
Whew.
This movie
Dang,
is still good.
great.
Still very good. I actually enjoyed watching it. I'm glad I finally watched it. It only took me 27 years. Well, I guess less than that. It's
Yeah,
less
about
old than I
23.
am.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I'll rewatch. I'll probably rewatch it. I think it's fun. I think Matt Damon in his prime, maybe not in his prime. The Martian.
He's had
was
some
good.
really good movie.
Yeah,
Martian
was really good.
He makes plants out of poop, Mason. Come on. What's he doing in this movie?
Dylan asked me off camera if this was the best Robin Williams performance. I said yes, absolutely. But for me, that is not a very high bar.
No.
Because Jumanji is probably right underneath that, and then I don't have a list after that. It's very bottom. But
have you seen Dead Poet Society?
yes,
Okay,
I didn't like that one.
that's fair.
It's in the movie a lot.
Was he in
Yeah.
Stand and Deliver?
Stand and Deliver.
I don't even know
No,
the
that
movie.
was that. No, he was Hispanic. It was a Hispanic teacher.
Not
Anyways.
Not Robin Williams. Robin Williams. That's French. I don't know why that's
Yeah, let's
Jose Williams over here. There we
Yeah.
go. That's a little easier.
It was 7.5. Not a bad movie.
7.5. Not a bad movie.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I win. Ah!
But-
Mason rated 7.5 for a Robin Williams movie.
But he's got competition coming up next week with my pick. That is in this lovely little baggie. Pathology.
I'm telling you, right? That's like ringing a weird memory. Like,
It's a weird movie.
I'm gonna look it up here in a minute.
Not as much as Paprika.
Don't
but
hate me if I've
It's a
already rated it because I don't remember it enough.
What? Okay, well we still gotta watch this.
Yeah.
TBD. It may be
Look at this
pathology.
baggie.
It may
It
not.
has to come out of the baggie.
I understand. I'll watch
So
it.
is it sealed for our protection?
Actually,
Is
maybe
this
for your protection, because I'll go ahead and spoil this. One of the reasons I picked this movie is because
Gory.
of Raw.
Oh,
Very
no.
gory.
Oh God.
Ready for it?
Oh, damn it.
Ready for it. Okay, so
It's
I
not,
will
like,
say on
crunchy.
camera,
Yeah.
I do think that Dylan's choice was a little bit safe. So with you guys' picks coming up, I like that pick. You had mentioned one that you might be picking for me later on.
I still don't see how that pick relates to you. He was like, you will like Robin Williams.
No.
Here's the thing. Here's the
like
thing.
it.
It's
I
like if I
explained it.
pick
You're
Green
just
Mile.
you're not big brained enough to understand my
It's
No,
experience.
I
like-
like Foxcatcher.
It's
Exactly.
like if I pick Green Mile or like Fight Club. It is a very
Yeah.
down the straight.
Is it a
arrow
universally
kind of
loved movie?
Yes.
In that way, yes. However, you have to give me credit. Like I know,
This
I
is
know
Robin
you
Williams'
don't like Robin
test,
Williams.
Yes.
I know damn well you don't like Robin
You're
Williams.
very right.
We've
You're
talked
very
at
right.
length about Robin Williams and Tom
And you
Hanks.
said that's the whole reason you picked the movie was because he doesn't like Robin Williams.
No, because I was like, I think that he's seen a bunch of Robin Williams performances that haven't captured him, and I think that this will, and that it'll get me more points because if you watch a character you don't like that you knew, or like, oh, this is the better part of a movie, I think that's gonna earn more respect on that
it does.
side.
It's. I mean, it's like me not liking animes, and then you guys choosing an anime and
Right.
and
You're gonna
liking
pick-
it.
You're
You
gonna
know,
pick
it
that
is
anime
kind
a
of
lot
similar.
higher because your bar is much lower.
Yes.
Expectations are everything.
I'm gonna take my pick back and find a movie by somebody in Monty Python, Holy Grail, and make you watch
We're gonna
that.
skip this week.
We're gonna
We
skip
are
next
gonna
week, everybody.
skip-
It's over.
Don't worry
We're
about it. We're gonna go
done.
right to Nathan's
Done.
pick. He doesn't know what he's picking yet, but if you tune in next week, we're not gonna be here. The week after that will be Nathan's pick. He'll let you know what it is then. If you liked
It
what
actually
we're
is
talking
pathology.
about, it's,
It is pathology. We're just messing.
it
with
might be
Yeah.
pathology. If you think Good Will Hunting's overrated, put us in the comments below if you think it's properly rated. If it's fat, maybe you don't want that girl character. Maybe it's too old. Or were you born before 1994? Tell us in the comments below.
Social, date of birth,
Yeah.
Bank account number.
mother's maiden name.
We want all
that
of those
stuff.
things. Security questions
First pet's name.
in there. If you want to know when Pathology's coming up, for whatever reason you're a big fan of that movie, hit the bell. Make sure. We're going to
I
hit
don't
the
know why you would
bell
know it.
with those scores. Price bell next week. Make sure to tune in, everybody. Subscribe if you like this channel. Subscribe if you like the beards. Make sure to put some foreplay out there, directors. Nathan will not watch your movie without it. That's our show. Have a good evening.
Bye. I'm gonna look this damn movie up real quick.
Ye-